leads me to a question, because you've been doing Strong Songs you just finished your 6th season of it. You're
right,
about to
5 years, I guess.
5 years. You're about to start
coming up on 6 years, actually. Yeah.
Okay, so you've been doing this for a while. The general vibe of the show, it has remained the same, at least as far as I can tell. I am not a serial listener to Strong Songs. I think I'm probably like a lot of folks, where I'll pick, all right, there's these 15 songs that I want to hear Kirk's dissection of, and I love listening to him on the way home from gigs. You are an exciting person to listen to, and the subject matter is also exciting to me, and so it's a perfect way to stay awake on the way home from gigs and that sort of thing. Yep. And so it's great. And it's music without it being more music, right? And so, I drop in and I any given episode, I might go from season 5 to season 6 to season 1 to, and the gist is the same. The production quality, but also just your production methods have evolved greatly over the years. So I'm curious if you have any designs on repeating a song, for example, like Africa, taking what you're doing now with how deeply you dissect these things. Have you thought about going back and like doing Africa or any other song again?
Yeah, I have. Not to replace that episode. Because I think that the journey of the show is actually pretty interesting. Like, I'm fine with those early episodes being, I wouldn't say low effort, but they were just like much more casual. And I spent a lot less time on that episode than on, like, for example, that fish episode you were talking about, which was
we'll talk about that in a minute. Yeah.
Kind of an insane undertaking. But yeah, I think it'd be fun to do a season that is like called Second Helpings, where I come back and do additional songs by artists I've covered. Because it'd be fun to go back and talk more about Africa, but what I really want to talk about is Rosanna. Speaking of Jeff Porcaro and like the Purdy Shuffle, which I've talked about on like the Babylon Sisters episode that I did.
Yeah.
And like I might do an episode on Lido Shuffle too. So that like there's this connecting thread between Bernard Purdy and Jeff Porcaro and like.
Well, and you've got to put John Bonham in the middle there, right? If you're doing that, like the shuffle that Porcaro played on Rosanna was a blend of what Purdy did plus what Bonham did on Fool in the Rain. And then, and this is the part that makes, I can play the Purdy Shuffle from Babylon Sisters. I can play the Fool in the Rain Shuffle. I can even play that song and sing it. Don't ask me how, but it's my brain lets me do that. The Rosanna Shuffle is about 40% faster. So your left hand's got to be really, really tight. And then he's playing the Bo Diddley groove with the kick drum in that Rosanna Shuffle. So it's like, dude.
There's so much to say about that song. And that I think is more likely what I do. I run into this thing where people will request songs by artists that I've already covered. And I understand why, because most of the artists that I've covered are like all-time greats. They're people who've released tons of incredible songs. But at the same time, like I have this list of people I haven't covered that when I'm planning future seasons that I look at and I'm like, I can't justify doing a second Toto song when like I still haven't covered, I don't know, Bill Winters or something, or Bill Withers.
Bill Withers, sure.
Or I don't know, whatever. Like name your artist. Like name, I don't know, anybody on this list that I'm trying to make for the next season. So it's hard for me to justify doing second.
That makes sense.
Second artists second episodes on one artist. At the same time, there's a ton of stuff that I'd love to do, like a ton of second songs that I'd love to come back to, and I think they'd be really interesting. Like talking about an artist's evolution can be super interesting. The episodes where I've done 2 songs from one artist, like Fleetwood Mac, or the Cars. The Cars one is actually really interesting because that band changed so much from the late 70s into the 80s.